Welcome to Massive Beers. My name is Matt. We do the beer stuff here. Beer's back. Missed this beer. Firestone Walker. Parabola. I usually say that wrong, so I'm kind of impressed with myself for pronouncing it right. Yeah, it used to be like a regular release, especially back in the old like 500 ml bottle releases, but I haven't had this in quite some time. It's an Imperial Stout aged in bourbon barrels, 13.5%. This is the 2023 vintage, but this wouldn't be fun unless we're adding a little twist to it. It's going to be a side-by-side. Parabolita. I have no idea how this is going to go, because we got a can versus bottle. I think this is our first barrel-aged can. So, anyway, I saw this on a shelf for, it was like $6.95 or something, like bonkers ridiculous like that. My screen just changed. I don't know why it did that. Anyway, so I was like, well, I got to pick this up. And then I saw this and I'm like, you kind of got to do side by side. So here we go. So Parabola, it is a base Imperial Stout. I actually have the website up so I can talk about the variances here on these beers, because I'm not quite sure. The price point is so different, because this is like $10 and this is like $7. I don't know why it's that much cheaper. Is it just the can? We'll see what's what. This is a 2023 vintage Imperial Stout aged in bourbon barrels. As far as their notes on their website goes, it says aged in an equaling combination of 8-year-old Blanton's bourbon and 12-year-old Weller wheated bourbon barrels. It says aged for 1 year and 8-year-old and 12-year-old. So that's the shtick, or the stats on this sucker. Now, Parabolita is 9.2%. So you're talking about something is over 4% less than ABV. So it's still an Imperial Stout, but lower in ABV. This is a salted caramel version. It's a bourbon barrel aged stout with vanilla beans, cocoa nibs, and sea salt. Okay. Over here we have barrel aged Decadence. They say our latest variant, Parabola, comes in the form of a first ever canned vintage beer, and it says aging 1 year in bourbon barrels. So this beer, it doesn't say blended. So this is a 1-year-old barrel-aged beer. This is a 1-year-old barrel-aged beer. Now this is a blend, okay, of 2 different barrel-aged beers. But they don't tell you what's going on over here. So is this, but with different stuff going on? I doubt it, because the ABV is such a stark difference. So is it blended with a stout? Or is it just its own thing? I don't know. We're just going to drink it and see what's what. Any in particulars about the bottle itself? I mean, it says 2023, so we know the vintage on this one. Do we get a date in this can? This says canned on 08/08/23. So it's this year's version. A little bit of story time on the back. Not much else going on. And it is almost exactly verbatim the exact same label, just laid out a bit different, with a little bit different verbiage going on. So, yeah, fun side-by-side. Who doesn't want to do a double barrel-aged side-by-side on a Sunday night before work on a Monday? Because that's what we do. And you're getting more, 12 ounce versus 16, so it's like weird. It's a, let's put it this way. It's not weird that this is cheaper. It's weird that they're using the Parabola branding to sell this, because I think it has that branding, that name has a very big cachet to it, for at least for me. So to take something which is, and this is again me assuming everything here, a lesser product, lower in ABV, cheaper in price, that's my choice of words, lesser. To wrap that name, attach that name to it, I think is kind of curious. But anyway, always love the old school branding. Even when, this hasn't changed really from the 500 ml bottles. Smaller bottle, kind of replaced over here with this kind of tricky, kind of inverted gold and black. It's like black and gold, but mostly white can. Anytime you give me gold and black, I'm usually quite excited. And the beers look virtually identical. There's a bigger head on this one. Has a couple different things going on there. One, the pour for me, and coming from a can, it's just going to come out a bit differently. So, but for all intents and purposes, it looks like the same exact beer. As far as head coloration, as far as beer coloration, it looks all the part of a big barrel-aged Imperial Stout. So let's dive into the bottled, see what the nose has to offer. I mean, it smells like a great Imperial Stout. There's a cool, rich maltiness to it, outside of a big roasty toastiness. So it doesn't come off to me as like Russian Imperial Stout. It comes off as a bigger, just kind of base stout. And just the way that chocolate malt kind of pops in here is kind of impressive for its ABV and how big and boisterous the Spirit and Barrel is here. Never going to be confused with being harsh. I mean, Firestone Walker, their barrel aging program is, Mount Rushmore status level stuff, so it tends to be a beautiful balance here, and you pretty much have that going here in spades. You get that whiskey, both parts of that bourbon kind of showing up nice, but nothing really big as far as heat, and classic Firestone Walker, big confectionery notes, the coconut, the vanilla, the whole nine coming from that barrel. It smells pretty. Now I'm curious. Let's see what we got going on over on this side. Very different. A ton more vanilla. Oh, like a crazy amount of vanilla. Huge confectionery notes over here. Huge confectionery notes. Now it says vanilla and cacao beans. I've always had a hard time discerning the difference between cocoa and vanilla. Kind of makes sense if you think about the process. Unless it's straight up baker's chocolate. But, so it's probably a combination of the cocoa and vanilla kind of combining together to get into the big vanilla component, but huge vanilla. Not really getting salt in there, didn't expect it. And honestly, I do get a little soft little spirit characteristic, but all the vanilla in here is from the addition of the vanilla and cocoa. It's not like coming from the barrel. And the beer is a little bit lost here. It's very much the vanilla is the start of the show over here. You have all three components, the barrel, the spirit, and the beer, kind of working in concert. Some little ebbs and flows as far as volume, but everything here is very cohesive. You're getting all the parts of it, but it's hard to pick up on some of it because of the way the vanilla kind of works over here. Let's dive into the base. Cheers, y'all. A little hot. A little hot. I thought it'd be a little less hot than that. But it's definitely has a bit of heat to it. Spirit comes through. Actually, I'll take back that kind of softer kind of maltiness. There's a big roasty toastiness there. Almost coming to the point of like a coffee kind of component. Did not expect it, but I dig it. And that vanilla, that coconut that I was getting over here, that I'm just, I think they're wizards at. I'm getting it, but it's just a little bit tempered by the roastiness and how hot this beer is. It's definitely hot. Now, for the sake of conversation or just full disclosure, every single Parabola I've pretty much ever had has had time on it. This is by far and away the freshest one I think I've ever had, so that could be part of it. Not so much that the beer was never this hot, but the ones that I had at least a year plus on them, so that kind of heat had burned off. Still a very tasty beer. Really well done bourbon barrel aged Imperial Stout. But it's just a little bit too saucy for me to be like, going gaga over it. Parabola's kind of king shit F mountain for me. It's one of the better beers, one of the better Imperial Stouts, at least one of the OG ones as far as I'm concerned. Not this is like lost its luster. It just comes off a little bit harsher than I remember. Over here, let's see what we got. Parabolita. Cheers, y'all. I'm going to take a couple sips of this because that lingering bitterness from this is quite large. I should probably have a water. It's tempered, man. It's a very similar beer. Obviously, the vanilla over here is way more aggressive than what you're getting over here. But the roasty toastiness of this over here, and that little bit of stinging heat, much more tempered over here, but it's still there. This is way more confectionery. The vanilla cocoa addition absolutely comes through as a much, much bigger component. It's a weird combination because, how do I phrase this? These taste like the same beer, but they're very, very, very different. So it's like one of those things where it's playing a little mind trick on you because you're like, okay, they both drink like Parabola. I am butchering it. Burps. But they're so different. Wow. It's fun. I still like this better. I do. I think that's pretty easy. You know, I'm kind of sitting here contemplating, thinking about it, trying to break it down between both. And this for me is just a better beer, but there's something to be had over here. That 4% drop in ABV, that tempered sharpness, and that confectionery vanilla is not over. It's aggressive. It's the biggest thing in the show here, but it's not like that's all you get. So I'm not trying to dismiss it as just a vanilla bomb that's just all you get. Just the stark contrast between the two, it makes the vanilla scream that much bigger. But it's a really cool, fun side by side. I can't wait to do the cuvee on this, by the way. That's fun. It's fun. Full disclosure, again, it might be the third time I've said that in this review. A little bit of a shades of itself. I mean, take it for what it's worth, but I mean, Parabola has a little bit of a, for me at least, I think a lot of old school burn barrel aged heads, there's a little bit of mystique to it, especially that it's not an every year release now, and then some of the older vintages were just bonkers, and it lost a little bit of its fastball, a little bit of its luster. Still a really delicious, well-made burn barrel aged imperial stout. I think a year or two on this would do it wonders. Not that I'm the biggest proponent of aging barrel aged beers, but a couple years is usually isn't a problem for most, and I think it would do this beer wonders. But it's quite tasty. But I would always put this like upper echelon, Mount Rushmore status. When I get to, if I go to that right now and I just say that, is this one of the better burn barrel aged beers you've had? It's like, sure. Is it Mount Rushmore status? No. That's how that conversation goes. Is this one of the better burn barrel aged beers you've had as late? Sure. Is it one of the better ones in Mount Rushmore status? No. This one is better for me, but there's a cool trick that this one's pulling off at a lower ABV. They both have things going on for it, but there's not this kind of wow factor that is usually almost a given when it comes to Firestone. Not just Firestone Walker Parabola, but their barrel aging program, whether it be Sukaba or the Anniversary, any of those beers. I think they really do always have a little bit of a wow factor, and this one just lacks it a little bit for me. I would still buy this. The price point's not the best. This one, okay, 16 ounces, you're talking about sub $10, that's great. This, $10 on the nose, 12 ounces, you're not that far off of Bourbon County, but, Anyway, I think it's fun. I think it's tasty. I'm glad I did the side-by-side. Let's do it to it. That's how you do a real one. You gotta go back and forth. Get a nice big head on it. It's called science. Yeah, look at that. Almost looks like a Guinness Nitro jam going on right now. Don't do that back and forth thing. I don't know why I did it. Now the head's gigantic. I'm not going to be able to get a nose on it. I'm a little bit congested as it is. I don't know why I watch. Let's get a nose. Yeah, I mean, it smells like both the beers put together. No shit, Sherlock. Let's dive in. Cheers, y'all. I kind of thought this was going to be the case. I think this is the best version of itself. That's a really cool mixture. Because you're taking the best of what this beer has to offer. Which is a cool, albeit aggressive, cool vanilla component. And a tempered side. You're taking the spirit and the roasty toastiness and just adding that meat in the middle component. So you're getting the spirit. You're getting more spirit than this has to offer. You're getting more beer and roasty toastiness. You're getting the confectionery vanilla over here that marries really great with that, what it naturally gives from the barrel. I think this is actually a really great mixture. better than it's on its own accord. Let's put it that way. So if you were to ever do a side-by-side of these, I implore you, mix those suckers. Does not suck. I mean, we kind of talked about it already, so let's cut to the chase. Some of the better barrel-aged beers I've had as of late, for sure, fine. They're tasty. Mount Rushmore status, no. Value and availability, 7, 10. I can find Firestone Walker stuff pretty on the rag. I'm not sure what your mileage may vary kind of thing is in that. And if you like what we like this, if you are like a Parabola truther, give it a year or so, to be perfectly honest with you. Buy 2. Drink one now. Give me your thoughts. Wait a year or 2. Drink it. Give me your thoughts. Parabola truthers would hate this because it's some kind of bastardization of Parabola. Fun take at a decent price point. I dig it. As I spilled everywhere. Actually, that was a pretty decent spill. Didn't really go much of anywhere. Anyway, that's all I got, I think. Firestone Walker, have you been to the brewery? Have you had their beers? Have you had these beers? Have you had these in particular vintages and beers? More specifically, the Parabolita and the 2023 Parabola. Firestone Walker's Invitational is like probably one of the only. I shouldn't say only because there's some other beer festivals in Europe and stuff like that. But in the States, there's not many other beer festivals I really kind of care about than that. I've always wanted to go there. Have you been to that festival? Have you been to the brewery? Have you had their beers? All that fun stuff down there. So hopefully you enjoyed the review. Hopefully you're enjoying a little cuvee right now. Hope to see you next time. Cheers, y'all.